Good morning, friends, audience. Today I'm going to play the movies, and hopefully I will be staggering different videos, slice it into time allotted segments, and explain on every segment. I will be brief about the remarks and comments, but you will arrive at the precise objects and subjects and items and elements and notions and similes and at the end of this movie. So I'm going to begin now. So now this segment at the start, it starts with some kind of music that basically tingles the mind and the psyche. It's kind of strange and outwardly, right? Here, what he's saying is, in the beginning there was nothing. Remember in the Holy Books? And like I said, the timers are very significant on the player itself. So the period or the span of this, there in the beginning there was nothing. I think I counted 155 seconds, 155. I don't know what that signifies, but all the numbers in that movie have significance, whether it's occultic or cult significance, whether it's historic significance, whether it is, you get it, like you catch the thread now. So I'm gonna fast forward. Okay, here you would see the lion. MGM is Goldwyn, Mayer, and so on. No, this is actually from the book Aldo's Thus Spake Zarathustra. He talks about laughing lions. So he got two different animals in that book. One is called the camel and one is called the lion. So the camel is load-bearing, while the lion is really a predator. So now what he's trying to do in that book, and here he's going to show that, is that the camel, that's us Arabs, right? That's funny. Are load bearers, right? So he thinks, but eventually he will divulge information to you in this movie that will basically almost wipe out all that you know from public domain about science and Arabs and so on. But no, and Predator, he's if you look at the uh, uh, book of Nietzsche, you would see that he's trying to make the Superman and his crew or his minions predation, lions of predation, because in that world of his, the blue, right? It's a blue world. Remember? See, it's a blue world. I explained to you in video number 3, I believe, about colors and their significance. And blue, usually, you know what it is, right? So the lion now, the blue color is becoming a lion. A lion usually kills other animals. It basically, we love cats, right? But cats are vicious animals, and basically they thrive as lions. And that's all there's to it. Cats do so. And so he takes that from that very deep concept in the book, and he brings it here. '23. 1, 2, 3, and 2. In the beginning, there was God, right? There was God before anything else. So whenever you see this emblem or this symbol, it's the crescent moon and above it the sun, right? So in the book of Zarathustra, you will see that Nietzsche speaks about the staff with the sun and then the serpent coiled around it. Uh, no doubt what he's talking about, but you see that emblem, or I'm sorry, that symbol in the movie, that illustration, and then sometimes you see it inverted, meaningly there is the crescent moon will be vertical, you know, the two horns upside, and then that what that denotes is really two horns, right? So that's what he's talking about. In the beginning, there was before there was God, and then in the beginning, you know, so and so. So as you can see, I explained to you before uh, what the 2001 is, which is the coiled snake, and in a space odyssey, he's really talking about God. And that in that illustration, there is that sun, and then there's that crescent moon. That's the symbol of God in the movie. So when you see it, that's who he's talking about. But that's not the only presentation of Allah or God in the movie. Okay, so the dawn of man. As I told you, whether it's music or chirps or bird songs or however it is, the count is significant. Uh, you will have to slow it down and count, and then that will give you the correct number. And the numbers I noticed were either 5 or 5-3 or 4-5-3 or 13. There's a number 13 and 23 and so on. It's all that occult numbers. And then now the dawn of man. Now the sound of the insects. I'm going to give you a background on this. This is not haphazard. As you can see, the color of the horizon is red mixed with yellow, right? That tells you about the existence of certain religion and so on. But if you look up in the cloud, you will see something of a blue, purple, you know, like very minor existence there. However, the predominance here is really a landscape with sun and red color shifting to red, right? Yellow shifting to red. I explained to you, yellow shifting to red means the Gnostics, and usually it's chaotic situation and not godly and so on. Now the sound of the insects, if you're familiar with something called azif, there are those old Arabs back down in Yemen, right, South Arabia. They have in their terminology something called azif, right? And this is very significant. It exists in the West. As soon as I give you the clue, I clue you to what I'm talking about, you will see. And that term usually is used for azif or azif, meaning player of an instrument. Azif is playing of an instrument. Azif is a player. Azif is the sound of musical instruments, right? However, in the ancient days, it was used for the sounds of insects in the forest, right? You know, azif, it was the sound of the insect in the forest. Uh, but that's not haphazard, because the sound, if you are able to hear and decipher the sound of the in the forest, you will see it's not something chaotic. It happened to me myself. I was working at one time in Bolingbrook, and then I heard certain noises and sound of nature, right? And it sounded like chaotic, chaotic noise, right? But at one point, I was able to tune in, and no, it wasn't chaotic, and I will probably mention that eventually later. However, it's also used for, Azif is also used for the sound of demons, right? You know, demons are often associated with forests, you know, and woods. That's where supposedly they live, right? Uh, but no, but that's what it is. That's why he's presenting here. In our concept, at least in Islam, we know that demons or jinns or angels and angels existed before man, right? You know, man was the latest arrival in the Garden of Eden in heavens, right? So what that means here is that he is showing you before man there was the demons. He's playing that. He's very familiar with it. Later on, that Azif was used in a book that I advise you of not reading, because it's made up book. It's hocus pocus, and it has negative influence. It's called the Necronomicon, right? And you will find it here actually. There's a university in the northeast called Miskatonics, right? And they kind of, I think they have it as a course or something of the sort. Trust me, folks. I wouldn't. I read a little bit of it and just I trashed it. It takes human beings into places or forests or wilderness that you can never re-emerge back from into your humanity and your society. So that's why he is actually the sound of insects, bees, those demons, which you really do not see supposedly, existed before us. And as you saw, the horizon began to change and the wind starts to blow. Blowing wind, you know, like it's a metaphor. Again, that's from Old Arabic. All these metaphors that you hear now in other languages is really from that ancient Arab. I want to explain to you something about the Arabs. In the West, it's known that Arabs and Jews are half brothers, like Isaac and Ishmael, right? Ismail or Ishmael. That's partially true, but the Arabs existed before Abraham, right? And we call them extinct Arabs. They're not really extinct. They partially exist, as a matter of fact. Some of them still does exist, and when Ishmael came into Arabia, he married into one of their extinct tribes, right? So what we call Arabized Arabs and Arabs and Arabized Arabs, right? So Arabs really existed way before that. Some of their extinct tribes is Hyksos, Hyksos, which really immigrated into North Africa and built the pyramids and so on. And some of them is called Imliq, or the giants. Some of them, and these lived in Arabia, right? And some of them called Jurhum, or Jurhum is the one where Ishmael landed and then married one of them, a woman from them, right? And then that's the lineage of Abraham mixing with the Arabs. Although Abraham himself is a Semitic person, you know, like related to the Arabs from ancient times. So that's a misconception. Yes, partially true, but not 100% true. And all these concepts of insects and demons and so on comes from the ancient Arabs, right? Two of those tribes of ancient Arabs that became extinct still do exist. One is called Somar or Shammar. Somariyun or Samariyun or Sumerians, you know, the people of Sumeria. They're still there. And one is called Tay, Al-Tai, or Tai, Tate, right? They still exist, right? Uh, anyways, so that's what it is. Now, again, you can count all these chirps and they denote something. They indicate something. One, two, and three, I think, or four. So here you cannot see, but if you look closer, there is the mountainous region of Western Arabia, and there's like downhill. If you look way down, it's a desert, right? But if you look closely here, uh, you will see, you may not see it now due to resolution. You will see as if it is a city, right? With lights. You know how you look into a city from space, and then, you know, there are lights and so on. So, or if you're on high on a mountain and you're looking down, and then you see those villages and cities. That's what he's saying, is that those people and creatures, right, or the insects and so on, which are demons, right? Uh, they live in the mountains. And again, high wind is a herald of storms and rain and upheavals and so on, like winds of war, like and so on, right? So the wind here is significant. What he's saying is something is about to happen. That God, right, with the sun disk and, you know, the crescent moon, is just starting things, right? Doing things here, or creating things. So the last two chirps were 23. The first ones I didn't count. Here, now he's showing that I struggled a little bit with this, but my guess is that this is like ancient animal life, right, on Earth. Okay, now if you see, the landscape has changed, and here there is skeletons. There is a skeleton of a man and a skeleton of an animal, right? So the skeleton of a man is what? I don't know. I think according to some accounts, whether from, you know, really from the religion I know, which is Islam, is there was possibly creation before man, right? So there was creation before man. Otherwise, the skeleton means death, really. That's all he's talking about here. And then now the landscape is changing. You could see the sun shining, and you could see some different colors and so on. And even like there are four stones. There's 4 and 2, right? And then you see mountains. It'll become clearer as I talk later. All right, now here we see two monkeys. Dawn of man. This is Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve are now on Earth, right? They have been expelled or something of the sort, right? Now, just so you know, there is a show on TV called Naked and Afraid, right? Where they bring a man and a woman and naked, right? And they throw them in a place where they have to survive on, on whatever. That show is fashioned after the expulsion of Adam and Eve from heavens and then landing here on Earth. Okay, this is a very important one. You see, like there are pigs and there's one tree, right? Now it may occur to you that the tree is probably the burning tree, and the pigs are the people around it, and so on. No, I don't see it this way, because in the dogma of Kubrick, there are two types of creation here which look like people. Those are the children of Abraham, which they consider people, and they will portray as monkeys or gorillas here. And then all other people that are not part of or descendants of Abraham and are in fact pigs, right? Now, this is a tapir. However, I looked it up and it's considered pig, right? And he's trying to conceal here. He conceals man or disguises man as a monkey, otherwise it will be mundane and you know what he's talking about, right? Uh, and the pigs are everybody else, right? In the terms of Kubrick, these are heathen or genitalias. I mean Gentiles and goyim and things of the sort, right? However, at later stages after the appearance of Islam, Kubrick's idea of the other, supposedly other half, or the Arabs, also degenerated into considering them as animals and whatnot, right? But meantime, that's what he's saying here, is there were Adam and Eve, but there were the other people as well, which really were considered pigs. Now, why pigs? Because pigs are consumers, right? You know, they just look for food and eat and forage all the time. Now notice the position here, sometimes whether it's people or animals is also very important. So there's now 2, and there's 1, and there's 3. The final position of the in the picture or in the scene tells you about certain number. So I'm going to play you that again. 3. Now we've got baby monkey. I think that's Cain or Abel. You know the story of Cain, the child of Adam. And then now you got your pig coming to, you know, they share in the food and so on, so on. That's like the other human. We in Islam, everybody is the same to us. You can be as glossy black or milky white or whatever yellow and so on. You're all the same. Okay, now there's also a count here. I am counting. There is five monkeys as well as 4 pigs. So 4, 5. I don't know the significance of 4, 5 itself. 5 seems to be a very important number in this movie. Now the child is pretty old, right? And if you look at the figure here, it does appear to be an animal like a bear or a lion or something of the sort. I can't sort it out, but there are hooves here, equal hooves, right? And this is different from the previous picture where the 2 parents, Adam and Eve, were sitting and then there was like a boulder next to them. Here, this is probably their son and he's talking to an animal here. So he's taking from him, he's taking food from him. Okay, we're back again. We're still 5 monkeys and 4 pigs. And they're all in the same vicinity, right? That's what he's saying. He's alluding to the monkeys as the children of... Well, we're back to Adam, right? But then, according to him, the pigs are also human beings, but they're pigs, right? And they're mixing with the humans now. All right, here we're still at the same. 5 monkeys and 4 pigs, and there's a dead animal here. And the dead animal is being mobbed or being fed on by the pigs, while the monkeys are not mindful. Uh, yeah, they're not mindful of the remains of the dead animal. Dead animals may mean different dead civilizations as well, or nations, or powers, or empires, or something of the sort. Here we have the tree, and then we have a stone building now with an abode or a cave in it. As you can see right there and right here, there is a cave just behind the animals here. And then there is the building and rough building, and then there is the a tree. The building again. This is the first time we see an outline of a intelligent design. Now one monkey is gone. There's 53. Okay, here is a very significant scene here. The rough building has developed into an enclosure, if you will. That denotes a city, right? A very advanced human settlement or advanced human settlement, and it's surrounded by walls, if you will. It's like a hole in the ground, but you can see it is. There seems to be development of intelligent design. And there are 2 trees now, 2 trees, and then now we see the leopard. The leopard is the same. I'm going to give you this clue now. The leopard is the same as Hal or LAH, and the same as that figure in the sky, the sun and the crescent moon. That's what I deduced. If you have better view and information into this, maybe you can figure out better things. But now they're in a city and there's this predator, right? The leopard predator. And then he comes and attacks one between now and then, right? And now the others cannot do anything about it. The others have just disappeared. Okay. Now we're back in the mountains again, right? And there's a pond of water. And I'm counting 3, right? I'm seeing 11 monkeys here. That means they have that abode or that group of monkeys have split into 2 now. So now we have 2 nations. So they're bickering not over water but over leadership because we humans supposedly have egos, right? We have this personality that likes to dominate others. That's what he's saying. So again, the one walks out by himself. There's always the one, and there's the 5, I think. And here now there is a war between the 2. After we split, now we attack each other as groups and armies and so on. Now monkeys are sneaking up. Notice there's that big mountain in the background, and there's that blue atmosphere. Not bluish, but rather pinkish blue. All right, the scrimmage is over. Nothing happened. They're cowards. Okay. So now, this is significant here. As you can see, the sky is beginning to look blue, but now we see two structures very close by and 4 trees. 4. Know that sign? 4. Here, if you look on the right side here, and this here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 trees. That figure here looks to me to be the Sphinx, right? And here looks to be the pyramid. And there is that, remember early on, there is that cave in here, which was used as some kind of a shelter for the monkeys, right? So here, that is the Sphinx, and that is the pyramid, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 trees. So the 4, as I explained to you before, it's really Allah, right? A-L-L-H, right? Or La, right? And the Sphinx, and then, so the 4 trees name you that, and then there's the pyramid and the Sphinx. Why the pyramid and the Sphinx? Because it was built by the Hyksos, Hyksos, which came out of Arabia and built the pyramids and then spread through North Africa. And yes, some of them even went as far as Southern Europe in their quest and movement and travels and so on. So these are the Hyksos, and that's why he's saying that the God or Allah, which really we all were in South Arabia at one point, all of us humans, right? That's him, you know, that's the first design. And then you hear the roar of him, right? You hear the roar of him behind this work here. Okay, here, this profile of leopard tells you precisely what it is. You know, there is the African leopard, there's the Indian leopard, and then there is the leopard in Arabia. They still exist, they're not extinct. They're a little bit different, that's their profile. They live in the mountains of Hijaz, or, you know, Western Arabia, and in Yemen as well. They're in the mountains. I think they spread out a little bit in the south and so on, but they're distinct a little bit. Although they're leopards, their looks and shapes and features are a little bit different, and that's the one that he's talking about. And of course, this is a metaphor, meaningly it is him, right, sitting there, because the Jews attribute the Allah and his domain, and he spreads out from Arabia, right? Because they show you the Hyksos and the pyramids, and now the leopard, you know, glowing eyes and so on. What is the donkey? The donkey, and it's really a zebra. Number one, I explained to you, this does not mean dead. It just means one is just basically dead. Or asleep. A sleeper usually can be awakened, right? But the dead person, dead brains just don't wake up, right? So two, donkey and zebra means subservience. You know, you take a donkey, you can load him all you want, and then he just goes about, right? As all he needs is to be prodded and kicked around and given some food, right? Some grass and so on, and he's fine with that. It's unknown why their personality is subservient, right? But That's what Allah says. God says He created them for our own use, right? So the black and white here denotes a religion, good and evil, dark and darkness, light and darkness, and so on and so forth. So La has created, is in control of this particular creature, good and evil, black and white, dead, subservient, and. But notice, while he attacked the monkey gorilla, he didn't. He's not eating this one or the zebra, right? Now notice here. This is a little bit. It takes an explanation. Notice the glowing eyes. He means for it to say he's got glowing eyes, and glowing eyes usually are associated or a trait or a character of supposedly evil. And notice he's also returned. He has also returned the sound and noise of the insects. I just explained to you what insects are, right? So what he's saying here is this La or Hal is is the super deity, right? And he's working. His cohorts are demons, right? And then he's doing this out of humans. And if you notice here, I thought I noticed a face of some kind of a human or animal or something of the sort here. I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining things. But if you look, this is very explaining. And then behind him now, it's no longer yellow and red horizon. Now behind him is blue. So blue is now crawling in and coming in, right? Notice he moved his ears, he's listening on people and so on. Okay, now we're blue, right? Now we're blue. Notice there's a blue horizon, there's a blue. And according to Kubrick, blue is the right thing, right? Any other color is the wrong thing, right? He's still roaring, right? He's the master of the environment. And he's not merciful. Cats usually are not merciful. You know that. And again, you can count roars, you can count chirps, hertz, and whatever it is, and they all mean something. All right, here, the monkeys are hiding, right? The blue monkeys are hiding. And here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4, 5, there's one here, laying down. Maybe 6, I don't know. I think 6, right? So there's one here and one here. These are 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 6 monkeys here in blue. And here there's one all by himself. And here I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 3 and 2. 32, right? So there's 6, there's 1, and there's 3 and 2. And everybody now is concerned. Those monkeys in blue, the Kubricks, right, and the Arthur C. Clarkes, they're in blue, but they're afraid of that cat upstairs, right? The alien or God or. So here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them, really what they're trying to say here, he looked up toward God or toward the cat, right? And then he bad mouthed it, the sign of rejection. So those monkeys in blue, they're not really friends of God. They're liars. Actually, they're not liars, but their consideration for, God is something you don't understand. They consider themselves gods and they want to destroy him. Right? So there's 5 here. Or 3, 2. Notice they're bickering over something very small, similar to buying and selling in the stock market. There you go. Ah, now the roar comes down. Now, this is a telltale here. If you can look closely, I'm just going to make this very clear to you. I'm not going to explain much. There's that one by himself here, that one by himself, sitting all alone. And there are two here. Uh, it seems like a gorilla male and gorilla female. And there's a baby gorilla here, right here, right? I'm just going to tell you straightforward. This is this here is Abraham and Sarah, and that's Isaac. And this here, the one sitting by himself, is Ismail or Ishmael. Call me Ishmael, and notice what he does with him. This is the first time he shows you the close up of the eyes of that one particular one sitting by himself in the niche, right? In the rocks. And notice that he's making him look like evil, you know, shifty eyes. And this, see, shifty eyes. He looks right and left. He's suspicious and, you know, he's plotting and brooding, right? So that's Ishmael. According to him, Ishmael, see, he looks up now. So he looks right and left and up. That's like the triangle. And look, after his look, right there and then, you would see the red horizon. Remember, there's a movie called Red Horizon, an old one, you know, invasion of the Soviet Union, of America, and through Cuba, and so on and so forth. So there's a red horizon, red horizon. Once he showed you that, he did in his eyes, you know, like there's like evil in his eyes, and he like drew the triangle in his eyes, right? Looking like a, you know, and then there's a red horizon. Something bad is going to happen. So from the get-go, he accuses Ishmael of being like evil. Okay, so now the screen went to black. I'm going to stop here for this one. The screen went blank in this movie. When the screen goes blank or there's an intermission, that means it's a time in history, right? So he just skipped from Ishmael all the way 2,000 years later. So he just blanked the screen for a few seconds, right? Actually, you can count the counter. You can see the counter. If it's 2 seconds, that probably means he's 2,000 years later. And here begins a very, he moves from Ishmael and Abraham and, you know, their surrounding and so on. So he moved from Adam to Abraham, from Abraham to a later epoch now. Now things are going to start up really to heat up here. So this is video number 4. This is true. This is true. In the next video, I will prove to you that that monolith is the cubic house in Mecca. You won't doubt your eyes. And I will explain to you about some some personalities in, you know, in that movie. Have a nice day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.